fine with this. I think it's fine. So you'll just pause, stop recording.
Workplace and world. Why the workplace is an important setting for health protection. And we have here Dr. Fundile Nyati, which is the Chief Executive Officer of Proactive Health Solutions. Okay. And Mr. Timothy Maurice Wits, which is the owner of Brain and Brain Science, and Timothy Maurice and Associates, and Dr. Adrian Fundile, which is the Chief Executive Officer of Eurozone Human Capital Finance. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. We're super excited. I'm happy and thrilled to be joined by my colleagues here to have a conversation about wellness and exploring the power of it connected and how it can lead to high performance. I want to know, how many of you have strong, sort of thorough wellness programs at the moment in your organization? Raise your hand. Oh, wow. How many of you think you need a wellness program? Okay, the rest? All right, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend a couple moments sharing a little bit about our specific work and how it links to the conversation, and then we're going to have a dialogue where we're going to speak directly to you. We want you to ask us questions, and then we hope to leave here with some structural points about how to address and take back some practical ideas and tips to then integrate into a healthy wellness program. Can we do that? Okay, awesome. So my work looks at sort of the neuroscience and psychology of personal branding, which personal branding really is the story surrounding your name and how it impacts your career, your organization. And what I would like for you guys to do is we go through this conversation. I want to make it quite practical. So I want you to draw a circle, if you will. You guys have note paper and a pen, right? On your paper, please draw a circle. And inside of this circle, I want you to draw 3 small circles. Okay? So make the circle about the size of the palm of your hand. And then inside of the circle, draw 3 small circles. Okay? Now, these circles are based on a model that I've designed, a personal branding model that will speak to this conversation. So the first one, just put body one, which is the unseen part of your personal brand. The unseen part of your brand. It's the internal wellness, your belief systems, your energy levels, the things that we cannot see. Body one, the unseen part of you. Then there's body two, which is what we can see, your behaviors, your actions, your style, how you manifest yourself, your physical body. So that's body two, what we can see. Then there's body three. Body three is everything you're associated to, your organization, your partner, your social media, your digital connections, everything connected to you. That's body three. Now I want you to ask yourself, as an organization, which one of these bodies, if every single one of your employees has these 3 bodies that really form the sort of structure and the core of their personal brand, which one of these bodies or which bodies are you doing the most for as an organization? Are you driving their internal? Are you helping them sort of deal with their external? And how does being associated and connected to you impact them? Some organizations are highly stressful, right? So I want you to rate on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is we're doing a lot for our employees in these bodies. 1 is we're not doing enough. 5 is average. I want you to rate in each one of these bodies where you stand currently in terms of your organization. How much are you impacting the internal, the external, and the third sort of connected body? Is that clear? Okay, cool. So I want you to be thinking about that. I'm going to give over to my other panelists, and then once they discuss their position, then we'll put this full conversation together. I'm looking forward to having this dialogue. Thank you guys so much for coming. Over to the next panel. Let's give 18 a big round of applause. Thank you.
Hi everybody, good afternoon. This is the graveyard shift, right? But I'm sure Timothy will really light us up with all the circles and the activities. So I'm a neurologist, and I saw many patients. I haven't seen any of you yet. It's a real privilege to actually be here, not with patients today. And the reason for that is because I saw about 10 years ago a whole host of burned out executives, business leaders, professionals, colleagues, and they were basically dying. The reason I'm here is because I started working with those patients, really working programs to try to get them out of this, what we call brain-body system implosion, and to move them out of burnout, out of this unwell state, which is a dysfunctional state, pathology, being pro-inflamed, and really having conditions coming their way, which would cost their lives. And some of them actually did die after numbers of years. But actually, the programs that we then started to put in place, was about 10 years ago, became the programs that the first programs of what we are working on, which is called the Behavioral Code for Resilience and High Performance at Neurozone. And so the patients became clients. I left the practice and I've started working using neuroscience analytics with clients. And the reason I'm saying this to you is that those patients came back and didn't only actually moved out of this burnout state, but they actually moved right into high performance. They had clarity of mind. They had more time in their heads to make decisions. They had better relationships with their families, with their friends, their organizations. And one of the things that was so much better is that they didn't make these, hey man, snapshot decisions, right? I'm sure you all know about that. When we become overwhelmed in this very rapidly evolving world. So that's where everything came from, and this is why I'm very privileged to be working with healthy clients, with healthy people, with leaders, and so we really work on this, what I call this axis that works right from death, burnout, to function, and then right to high performance. So the whole burnout, resilience, high performance spectrum is real. You and I, everyone, is somewhere between burnout and high performance. And the real buffer that prevents burnout and that sets us up for high performance is resilience. And it's a neurobiological entity. It's not tenacity and grit. That's not resilience. Resilience is a deep, innate biological, neurobiological capacity. The more we understand about it, the more we can build and harness that, the more we move out of that space. So, having said that, we are really in the slap bang in a real field. It's also in neurology now, well known, called psychoneuroimmunology. Actually works right across that spectrum, from burnout to high performance. And if you think wellness today, well-being really sets you up. If it doesn't set you up for high performance in an organization, and leaders don't actually build across that, along that connectedness that we now know exists, we're actually not leveraging the value of wellness. So that's my field, and I'm really looking forward to share more thoughts with you. Over to my colleague who I just met just now. We're from the same world, but also a medical doctor. I'm sure. Yeah. Dr. Fundile.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. The topic is about wellness in the connected workplaces. But I think before we talk about connected, it's important to just, say, what is this wellness thing? We often hear health, we hear about wellness, we hear about well-being. Can we use these words interchangeably? In some organizations, they say we've got wellness programs. Others say no, we've got health and wellness programs. Others, they say we've got well-being programs. So I think part of the discussion, we need to talk about that. Now, I work for a company that assists other companies, large employers, to set up employee health and wellness programs. And the organization I work for looks at all the 4 pillars of employee health and wellness programs. Meaning, on the psychosocial side, what you guys know as EAPs. On the disease management side, that is, looking at whatever disease seems to be a problem in the organization and coming up with plans on how to deal with that. Also, issues of compliance around occupational health and safety. And lastly, issues relating to sick absenteeism and disability management. So that whole spectrum. Now, one of the things I needed to just say as an open statement is that a number of organizations in South Africa, they pay a lip service to employee health and wellness. On Well-AIDS Day, the CEOs and the MDs stand up there and say, our employees are the most important assets. All right? And everyone claps. But when now the health and wellness practitioners go and ask for budgets to support that which they have said publicly, you find that there are no budgets. And so what is said out there and the reality on the ground is normally not the same. But also, whenever there is a downturn in the economy and there has to be a restructuring and reduction of costs, employee health and wellness programs are amongst the first programs to be cut by organizations. And so, as we sit here today, we need to reflect within our organizations and say, firstly, has my leadership recognized the importance of these programs? Do we have them? And if we do, are they well resourced? But also, as the people who are running them, are we tracking, the investments that are made by the organizations in these programs? Can we say they are actually delivering returns on the investments? All right, because these programs should not just be there as nice to haves. Other people think that it's like tissues and tears type of programs that can be replaced any time. So I'm coming here being responsible for implementing these, but there's still a lot of cynicism out there and double speak. Thank you.
Okay, so what you have in front of you, you've got basically a neurologist, another doctor, and then you've got a person like myself who focuses on the psychology of personal branding. So with the panel that you have, I think we can accomplish quite a bit. What I would like to do is, I'd like to feel from you what you would like to accomplish with us. Questions you may have, or things that we should put on the table knowing who you have in the room. So if we could note the questions.
They can also put their questions
okay.
on Slido. And
are you guys locked in on Slido, or maybe you can do a little bit of both? So let me just raise your hand if you're on Slido right now and you can post on Slido. Okay, and then if you're not, raise your hand. Okay, so it's probably about half and half. So for those of you who want to put your stuff on Slido, that's fine. Those of you who are not, I'll run around and we'll get the, I'll come and ask you, we can talk sort of openly, okay? So I want 3 things that we would like to achieve. Who has something you would like for us to address when it comes to this conversation that we are dealing with now? Okay, I'm coming back. And by the way, we only have about 30 more minutes, so let's lock in. Let's use this time to the best of our abilities, okay? I see 2 questions here.
Thank you. What I'd like to find out is from yourself is ways in which we can put together holistic employee wellness programs, not just ones that are focusing on the physical aspect.
Okay. Holistic programs, not just physical. Okay.
I think for my side, having implemented wellness for some time, the gap that I've identified, which I would like to get assistance on, is around the issue of return on investments, to say how do you measure the impact of our programs, but not only looking at the measure just from the point of looking at the employee, but there are aspects that relate to organizational wellness. So how do we begin to integrate the two? Because you focus on the employee, but if the environment is toxic, how do you combine the two so that we can create a well organization and also focus on
I mean, because the business case is fascinating. When you go and you ask the stakeholders and investors and the board, they're like, you can't develop a business case. Very challenging. I see another hand. Okay, cool. We'll come back to you.
Thank you. Mandy, I'm talking from a point of view of a coach and a coach with people in companies. How can we take away the responsibility of wellness from management, from the company to affected? And how can we make the employees become the eyes and the ears of each other? Because often, when we act issues, it's very late because symptoms are not seen, and it's very difficult for people to observe themselves.
I think what I hear from you is you want us to create an environment where we need coaches more, we can make more money.
No. When I'm coaching people, these are often hidden things that you observe. And the environment is not conducive to people to take action. It's often a management that needs to put solutions forward. I don't know if the solutions are there. If culturally over practice, I'm not able to do anything when I observe and actually struggling. I may because this is an issue. Health is not sitting with the person really bears the end.
This is a very powerful point. It's almost like having a whole ecosystem where the moving parts are so aware of wellness that it doesn't take 6 months to address before it's too late.
The assumptions you made, and I know you say it's a joke, but it's a fact. As a coach, I cannot get involved when the person is already at the point where they need psychologists. I can't. So therefore, it's in my interest that I don't get involved with people that actually are already at the point where they need the psychology.
Okay, I think I'm very clear. I mean, this is a very powerful point. A thriving ecosystem where you're addressing before it's too late, where the moving parts. So what I'd like to do, and I'm going to come back, I'd like to address what we have on the table, and then I'll come back to the audience. And then if we have, let's start the program. Okay, you guys can take them one at a time. Let's start the. Okay.
Yeah, we let this one be complete and conclude. Number of questions. I'm going to answer from my perspective, which I hope is useful, because we've been chosen to be, I would assume, elected to bring different perspectives. My perspective is quite a bit more from the clinical, from the burnout perspective. Let me just say something about holistic programs. I think the idea about holistic programs is so important. If you think about this world of neuroimmunology, it sort of speaks to everything in the environment, the brain and the body, the brain-body system, and everything that's around it. It speaks to the three circles that Timothy has also just let you draw. All of those are important, and everything affects everything. So the idea that we need holistic health is not it's a new term, but it's not new in nature. We just have, for some reason, not been able as the human species to define it for such a long time. I think with the internet of everything comes the, or Internet of Things comes the interconnectedness of everything. You'll see that one of the terms we use in the topic is really interconnectedness. It's interconnectedness, which speaks to digital, but it also speaks to this holistic point. So I think it's such an important point. So if we address body only, and you even think about programs that are out there, wellness programs, it's all about the four big exercise, movement, nutrition, sleep-wake cycle, and mindfulness, right? Extremely important. But of course, and then it starts to speak a bit about mental health and my mood state, really, serotonin that I have in my head. But there's so much more. If you think holistic, you think about social safety, sense of belonging, sense of identity, a sense of making a meaningful contribution in the workplace and in life. You know, one of the previous sessions was so brilliantly spoke about logotherapy, just the making meaning and optimism. We know optimism is one of the major contributors to resilience. And so all of those are important. If you think about goal-directedness, gratitude, the way that our curiosity, our sense of humor in the workplace, all of those are components that have been studied as so-called characteristics that are extremely important, not only for well-being in the workplace, but also for high performance, and it's all the same. So to your point of holistic programs, I think we really need holistic programs. Question is, are they out there? There are a few, but most of them really focus on the most foundational, conventional, if I may say, well-being drivers. So I think that's to that point, we need holistic understanding. You know the prefrontal cortex? I mean, this part of our brain, we sort of deal with it. That's the problem-solving capacity. We sort of deal with that as not being part of the body, isn't it? It's like it's creativity and innovation. Hey, it's part of your body. This thing drives everything that's in here and everything that's out there, connects us together, solve problems. It's important for well-being. It's important for resilience and for well-being, and to reduce the cortisol, the stress levels, and to prevent burnout and to be well. So long story short, it's incredibly important. I'm going to be quicker on the other questions. This would just be my input. The ROI, how do we measure that? Isn't it extremely difficult? It's such a new thing for us. Talk about, once again, wellness and high performance, the whole axis. As we move along the axis, we need to find ways of actually measuring wellness, well-being, and hopefully we will, in very different ways. At the moment, of course, it's more still the idea of measuring absenteeism, measuring healthcare costs per individual in the workplace. It's about assessing the percentage of chronic disease in the workplace. I think it's somewhere between 20 and 30% in any organization. It's actually really significant, isn't it? People with a chronic disease working in the workplace and being functional in the workplace. And then it's about your turnover intention risk. What is the turnover intention risk in an organization? All of those speaking to the health of the organization. But as we go along with this axis, I think we're going to really find, and we have to find ways of really tying up well-being, wellness programs with random sense productivity and outcomes that really capture the attention of the CEOs and the C-suite. Not that should capture the attention only, and I think that's where mindset shifts are so important in the world of business today. And then finally, shift focus from management to employee empowerment. I think that was a coaching point to be made. Timothy, you messed it up. Sorry, I'm just kidding. So we do a lot of working with coaches, and I think it's so fascinating. Just one point to be made. If you say this is the line for dysfunction below and function on top of it, you and I are always somewhere either on top or below, right? And so, to your point, most of our people who require attention already are underneath the line. They need fixing. I mean, that's where I come from. I come from all the fixing. I'm a therapist, if you may. So the therapists are doctors and nurses and all the therapists, and psychologists. They're therapists. They tell you what to do. But coaches don't tell you what to do. Coaches support you to achieve your goals and become the best version of yourself in a way that the employee takes that on board and is empowered as an individual to become the best version of themselves. And that is really the magic of coaching. So to that point, I think we really need shifts along those lines. And I think it is time, because coaching is really so relevant today. That would be my little political statement on coaching. Finally, I think Yeah, I made a note here about the chronic state of chronic diseases. I mentioned that already, the 20 to 30% everywhere. Such an incredibly important issue to address. So is that enough?
Yeah.
Thank you. Fundile.
All right. Just around the issue of holistic programs. This is another area where there's been some changes taking place. Most programs were basically focusing on the body. All right. We normally talk about the body, mind, and soul. All right. So when you're talking holistic, we're talking the body, mind, and soul. But how many programs go beyond the body? All right. Now, at a technical level, when you talk holistic, 20 years ago, we used to say biopsychosocial, right? Biological, which is physical, psycho, which is mental, emotional, and social. But nowadays, when we talk holistic, we talk about biopsychosocial, spiritual. Okay? So there is a move globally to try and augment the previous interventions, that we're just looking at the body and the mind, to include the spiritual side. Okay? Now, we are spiritual beings before anything else. And if the spirit or our spirituality is not addressed appropriately, okay? Obviously, spirituality is a broader issue, okay? There is narrow spirituality, which is religion, but spirituality is broader than religion. And each one of us have got different approaches to it. But new requests that we are getting from our clients are, can you guys help us to incorporate spirituality within our EWP programs? Why? For example, there's this one large client of ours in the financial services. They are inundated by employees who want to take time out to go and undergo the ritual of Butwas, all right? Which is a training process to become, traditional healers. And the policies within the organizations do not tackle that. And the EWP programs, they normally are brought in by HR to come and assist in that situation. But most times they don't know where to start. And so the issue of spirituality has now become very key if you are talking holistic programs. But without being judgmental about it, without being restrictive about it, but understanding, the type of people you have and assisting people to strengthen their area of spirituality, whatever it is. Okay, so for me, holistic programs are like that. But at an intervention level, holistic programs should also be both proactive and reactive. Proactive meaning there must be a lot of information sharing, empowering of people with information so that they can make changes in how they live their lives to reduce the risk profile. Must also have an opportunities for people to be tested quite early so that if there are problems, the problems can be dealt with before those problems need treatment. So that's the proactive side of interventions. But there's also the reactive side where there now has to be therapy and sometimes even rehabilitation. So when we're talking holistic, we're talking in terms of scope, but also biopsychosocial, spiritual, but also in terms of proactive interventions before something happens, and resilience building is one of those. In fact, with the high prevalence of mental illnesses in South African workplaces, which is 1 in 4, all right? It is so important to actually proactively get people to be, trained on how to build resilience, because we live in a country where there's a lot of, trauma in situations. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. I'll talk about ROI later.
Thank you very much. Okay, guys, we have about 16 minutes. So let's try to maximize this. I want to say from my contribution that I've been studying quite a bit on, as part of my ongoing work, behavioral science and creating very small incremental changes. So for example, culturally, if you were to have a detox hour or time that you incorporate within your team, there are people who are spending an inordinate amount of time online. So culturally, if you say that we're going to drive small changes where people connect with nature more, they have meetings out in a garden or something where you literally are proactively creating what we call nudges, or small, simple shifts that don't really cost anything, but it becomes a big part of your cultural sort of input from an HR and talent perspective. You can make a phenomenal impact with small nudges. So are there any questions on the STAR thing?
Yes, on Slido. I think there's
Slido, okay. So.
Here's a few questions. There's a few questions related to actually getting the management or the leadership team to embrace wellness programs.
Okay.
So they all say, how can we as practitioners turn this around? What can we do in the workplace to get our leaders to embrace the programs?
Yeah. I genuinely think that if you have leaders who are not interested in well-being, we have to address that fundamentally. So I appreciate that question, but let me let you.
Just a quick. I think there's a disconnect between leadership as far as wellness programs are concerned and how they see them, and the people who are actually delivering them on the ground. I think if you want your senior people to actually support your programs, you need to understand their thinking. They have these strategic plans that they come up with, medium-term and annual strategic plans. It's important that the programs are linked directly with those strategic plans, okay? Especially on the human capital side. So you find that a number of people who are EWP professionals do not even know the human capital strategy of the organization. Now, to get the attention of the senior people, you must talk their language, which is linking it with the strategy. All right? Number two, you mustn't, when you report, just report activities. So many people tested, so many this. You need to talk rents and sales. All right? Because the CFO, who is the one who releases the money for the budgets, they want to be able to see how the money is actually, being invested and getting returns. And things like, sick leave rate, costing it, and saying, okay, when we started this program, the sick leave rate was at this point, and it was costing us this much. Now, after the interventions, it has gone down to this point. We used to have exits by employees, with, disability. Now, after the interventions, we've got less exits through illness or injury. We used to have so many people with injuries on duty. Now that has gone down. So all of those indicators put together, they make a business case that a CFO and a CEO listen to. But if you don't talk that language, then you will not be doing business.
I absolutely fully agree with that point. I think that's if you say what can we do, the first thing there's a limitation, and that is the limitation. The limitation is there's a frame of limitation which is basically random sense, and that is because the CFO is not only, we often think about, I suppose, about fat cats in the leadership, which is probably completely unfair towards them. But it's also unfair to say that that's the only reason. There's also a real reason, a real problem, a real threat that the business is not going to make it if we have the wrong principles. So there are principles that have to be adhered to. I think that's first. But within that frame, there's also an opportunity, and I just want to add one more thought to this, this idea is you know about conscious leadership, right? So the idea of conscious leadership scaling, the idea that leadership is at a big threat in the world because we are not really looking after the leadership of middle management, and budgets were assigned to every head in top leadership development, talent, high potential leaders, etc., etc. And then there's almost nothing in sort of middle management space. And the idea of conscious leadership speaks specifically to that, so that leadership development in this big middle management, moving right down into the belly of the organization, is such an opportunity. I think two things to be made about leaders. Leaders are starting to burn out. And while it is detrimental and it is destructive and it is extremely sad and it's alarming and we need to pay attention to it, it also has a good side to it in the sense, and I'm going to be careful now, to say that it's got a good side to it, that it actually really alerts the people who make decisions about a real problem. And so if we can address that real problem in leadership, the idea is that you start to really create, and this is what we've been seeing with the programs with the leaders we work with, is they start to become believers because it's really changing them. They're really being affected by holistic health programs, or holistic development programs, or wellness programs, well-being programs, high-performance programs. And when they become the believers, they want to implement this as believers, which is that sort of, remember this, it's not underneath, it's actually the top. It's the believers, the passionate believers who actually start to implement that programs. So that's another. So in the conscious leadership development, you want to think about leaders as coaches, the idea of leaders in middle management, really think about how can we design or develop programs, use programs for those people, because once they are the believers, you have a critical mass shift. It's just an idea. I think that could be another way of actually bringing the awareness, and eventually you get the shift and put the power in the hands of the people.
Thank you. Okay, we're winding down. I'm going to take 3 more questions. Quickly, we'll address those.
Good afternoon. My question is around, especially from someone who's now has to drive the culture. Now you put more money in these wellness programs, the holistic approach, but at the same time, the engagement programs are not there. So how can you marry the two? Because now we are driving the holistic approach, but I'm expected to drive the culture. So more effort is put on one part, but on the other side is making. How can you marry the two? So
yeah. Integration. I'm going to take.
You want to speak to it?
No, I'm going to take 2 more questions.
Okay.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I'm talking from HR point of view. Sometimes, as HR professionals, we find that the stumbling blocks to employee wellness lies with line managers, because they are the one who interviews the employee. They know that the employee is stable, not the life, not their employer, or what are the improvements. Sometimes, instead of coming to HR or to wellness office, they just sit in the problem until it's too late to discuss the best stage of coaching. So I think maybe one of the issues of the panel is how can we make the line managers, aware of this, and then they can also be good partners in terms of the work.
Okay. One more question. You can address that. I saw another hand here. I don't see another hand. Okay. Awesome.
Well, I'll start with the last one about line managers. Now, I think one of the weaknesses of most employee health and wellness programs is that they are driven from HR, which is good. However, the people who should trigger interventions is actually the people at the core phase, which is the line managers and supervisors. You rightly said that they are the people who see the employee on a day-to-day basis. Now, when any program is going to be rolled out, it's important to have sort of a needs analysis done amongst a sample of line managers, to pick up what is their level of understanding of the program, their ability to identify troubled employees, but also understanding issues around, injuries on duty, so the whole spectrum. So training supervisors and line managers is the first step to implementing any program. HR should be supporting line and supervisors and not be at the front. But what normally happens, they do nothing, that is the line managers, and then just expect everything to go to HR. It's not supposed to be that. So training on issues around absenteeism, on issues around employee assistance program, on issues around having injuries on duty and things like those, that's where it should start. Including understanding the policies of the organization in relation to those key areas of employee health and wellness. So that's my answer to you. And then the other area is, some people talk about employee engagement programs. Nowadays, a program of health and wellness that is not integrated to employee engagement programs is unlikely, to work well. It's important to have a sense of the beneficiaries or the consumers or potential consumers of the service to be able to give feedback or give ideas, to those who are actually driving these programs as to what is it that they want. Instead of that, we see low utilization levels within the programs. People, the organizations are paying money, but utilization is low because people feel these programs were designed without our inputs. And so as a result, we don't see relevance. And some of them are actually scared around issues of confidentiality and privacy. So it's important to have these engagement programs, so that we can address some of those barriers. Okay, so and as we are moving towards digital types of wellness, it's now even more important because with the technologies that are available, you can now be able to have those kind of engagement programs facilitated through technology and feedback. So that is what the future is getting to when it comes to employee health wellness programs.
I don't think I have anything to say. You just covered it all. Maybe just a little different angle, just to say it in another way, is that really if you think about wellness, well-being, which links us up with high performance, it really should be the second skin that really prepares everything else. And to your point, if you think about engagement programs, any other program, leadership development, personal mastery, in the OD space, if you develop organizational design programs, L&D, it should all be basically a second skin on top of us, really, which is well-being and programs. And even the word wellness programs could be a problem. It's the narrative that we start to speak. And I just want to share that with you. My thoughts are that, and I come from a very different perspective. I come from a purely clinical business, having been in the world of neuroanalytics for the last 10 years, not being in the OD space and HR space. And I really want to just share a thought with you, a couple of things, maybe just observations. We are really the Humpty Dumptys of the world. Organizations are managed by managers using systems. That's all dead. There's no life. The organism in the organization is led by leadership, good leaders, which is all of us. And that's the living thing. That's alive. So while we need organizations and we need systems and we need management, because you simply can't do this without that if you have the size of organizations that we have, that's still not the real living issue. And that's not, a system can be efficient, but the organism has to be well. And the organism has to be a high-performing organism. And that's an engaged organism, and et cetera, et cetera. Everything is connected. And I just want to bring us back, while digital connects us through everything can connect us on a platform, all these programs, and it should. That's the value we have from tech. we still have to make a mindset shift. And I think we need to talk about Humpty Dumpty, you know, sat on the wall, fell down and broke into 1,000 pieces and could never be fixed again. This is the way we look at life. If you think about it, we reduced, in the organization, we have reduced the whole into all the parts and just can't put it together. It's just not the whole. So the interconnectedness, the spiritual intelligence that comes with this, the way we think mind, body, soul, gives us a perspective that provides us with a new narrative. And I just want to maybe, in mind, we'll end with that thought, that I'm so impressed every day with the narrative we have now. Has to be, it can't take us to the next level. We have to think differently about wellness. Wellness programs in the one corner with a certain amount of money available for that just simply will not do the trick. And that brings me to back to the HR and line management and supervisors. It already starts at the top. If you have a CEO and a C-suite and the leadership and the influences in organizations, you might be anything, right? If they really buy into it, you change organization. But then the narrative changes and it changes. And if we don't get that right, I think that's what we need to get right. If we get that right, the narrative changes and then the money flows. I want to end with one little thought about Japan. Japan is fantastic, right, in world rugby at the moment. How did they get that right in the last, let's say, a decade? Well, they beat South Africa at least 4 years ago. But that's not the point. That started long before that. The leaders bought into this, made a serious decision, and they put a huge amount of money and resources into it and continue to do that. That's how you achieve this over time. So we need the same with our leaders. Change the way they view wellness and really start there. While we don't have it yet, you just have that amount of money. And how do you spend that then? So I think that is a big, big challenge, but also an opportunity.
Awesome. So what I would like to do is, I'd like for you guys to write down these gentlemen's organizations details so that you can get in contact with them. Could you share your websites?
It's Neurozone, but you can think Neurozone with an N, Panellist. It's just like neurology, so it's N Panellist, EUROZONE, so Neurozone, NU. So it's NEU, right? Neurozone. .com. It's as simple as that. So it's just put www. Neurozone with an N.
I want to say the website you just wrote down, I came in contact with it when I was studying at MIT. You know, MIT is one of the best schools in the world, and they were using in the business school, the small business school, they were using the website's tools to engage sort of neuro optimization of the mind and how to engage and so forth. So please check this website out.
Right. My parting shot, the time was not enough for us to discuss employee health and wellness programs. But I think this is a start. It is a strategic decision, or employee health and wellness programs must be part of that organizational strategy. Returns on investment, very important to report on. And I think HR personnel, EHW personnel, there is a need as part of development to also, develop skills around how to report effectively to those who are senior, so that which you are recommending can be taken seriously. We find that, if you are having activity-based reporting, it never really gets taken seriously. And the last thing I want to say is that as we go forward, there is a lot of change. In the EAP space that that is the employee assistance programs, the interventions have always been through the telephone, all right? Somebody has got a problem, there's a toll-free number, you phone in, you get a counselor 24/7, But with the move towards, the 4IR, just like in the banking they talk about bank anywhere, bank anytime. So even in the EAP space, things have moved beyond telephone. to get counseling anywhere, get counseling anytime, get counseling on any device. So going forward, you're going to be seeing more of that. And with the younger guys, the millennials, they don't want to wait to be seen by a psychologist in 4 days' time. If they can get video counseling scheduled today, that's what they want, than to wait for 4 days. So things are changing in the wellness space, and technology is playing a big role. So as you go to select providers, start thinking about that future. My website, or the organization website, is www.phsafrica.com. P for Paul, H for horse, S for sugar, Africa.com. Thank you.
Guys, I want to make sure you go to their websites. These are not your ordinary leaders. They are leading in this industry in a major way. My parting shots are, how many of you are on Facebook? Raise your hand. Okay, all of you. How many of you have checked your Facebook today already? Don't lie. We're family. We're talking. Okay. So have you guys heard of this concept called influencers? So I want you to think about wellness influencers. And I want you to think about documenting the journey of people who are thriving in your workplace, people who are, and I'm not talking about slay queens and that type of stuff. I'm talking about more people who are thriving in their jobs. They started from the bottom. You know, I've done a little bit of work with Transnet, and we documented the journey of a woman who started out cleaning trains, and she's now a leader. And one of the things we did was we studied what she did in her home and how she regulated the home, how she dealing with team dynamics, and how she used her unique background to help rise. And we couched the conversation into a wellness conversation, and how she remained healthy when she was dealing with adverse conditions. Document those stories. I have my own podcast equipment. I can literally come inside the organization and do interviews and edit it up into like 2-3 minute pieces where we talk about wellness. And so using digital technology and flipping it, instead of people scrolling all day looking at slay queens, maybe they can be looking at wellness slayers. People, and flip the conversation. Things that you get stressed about, just flip it and think about how can we take, you know, a woman in her mid-40s, 50s who is thriving, who are doing extraordinary things. How do you take them and pair them with a younger millennial and see what's similar, you know, and have these rigorous conversations and make it and energize the wellness conversation into a modern conversation that's really relevant. We've seen it work in a lot of organizations. And you can go to my website, and I'm speaking tomorrow on in the main hall, and I'm going to address a lot of what I could have said today, but I didn't want you to have to hear it twice. So how many of you are going to be there tomorrow for my talk at 11:45 with them? All right, awesome. So any final questions or anything that you want to address?
One question I got was, what other forms of intervention can an employer put in place with regards to mental health issues, apart from the offering of counseling sessions? I think you touched a little bit on it. I think it's more of prevention, but what else is it that you would like to try and send a person to a counselor or a psychologist or psychiatrist?
Okay. Yeah. So no, go ahead, Sam. So I'm not going to actually address this. I'm simply going to say that I think we've given our parting shots, and maybe after we break now, you can talk to us one-on-one, but I'm going to let them address this last mental health question, and then we'll break before we go back into the main session, and then we're happy to chat to you one-on-one, okay?
All right. I think it's a very important question to deal with. I mentioned earlier that research that has been done by Stellenbosch University, Professor Lund, and also by the London School of Economics and Political Sciences, both they show that in South African workplaces, we have an average of 25% of people who have mental illness. Okay, 25%. Now, the guys in Stellenbosch went further to say, of that 25%, so if there were 100 people, 25 of those people have mental illness. But of those 25 people, only a quarter have actually sought help. Okay? 3/4 are walking wounded. They come to work, all right? They don't miss any day. There's a situation of presentism. Their productivity is low. And the reason is simply they are fearful of the stigma, the discrimination, the fact that they may not progress career-wise or to put in projects. And so to address issues of mental health, you can't just start at the end in terms of therapy. It starts with what we call primary prevention. Are there policies in the organization that address issues of stigma and discrimination? Is there information dissemination to empower people to know that depression is not the same thing as psychosis? All right? Because people think, oh, you've got a mental illness, immediately think you are schizophrenic. A bipolar person is not schizophrenic. All right? So the faculties are still working very well. It's just the emotions that are affected. Extreme sadness or extreme happiness, but the brain still works. All right? So it starts from information dissemination. It starts from having those policies, creating a culture of non-discrimination. And then also creating an opportunity for those who may have challenges to recognize that I've got a problem, because a number of these people who come to work don't know what is happening to them, all right? But they have a mental illness. So them getting to recognize that I'm highly stressed, or actually I now have a mental illness. So that they know they can seek help through the EAP programs and all of that. So it's from health promotion to early detection, prevention, as in resilience programs. There's something called mindfulness. Mindfulness is now a big tool to help people to deal with stress, all right? And it's a practice that comes from old Buddhist, religion that has now been incorporated by Orthodox, medicine as an intervention that actually helps in the area of mental illness, including transcendental meditation, and things like yoga. So those are all things that can be done long before therapy. But then once it's time for therapy, it has to be there, either psychotherapy on its own or in combination with pharmacotherapy. And over and above that, issues of social therapy, relationship with self, relationship with others, and spiritual interventions. There's research coming out of the UK that shows that those people who are strong spiritually, they tend to have more resilience, they tend to recover sooner from episodes, and also the remission periods tend to be longer. Now, that's research coming from the UK, the National Institute of Health, and also from India. But we're not doing much research around issues of spirituality in our country. So it's a challenge to all of us. So it's not just therapy, but also some people are dysfunctional. There needs to be rehabilitation back to productivity. And people like occupational therapists working with people who are in the neurosciences and psychologists, they are now coming up with good return to work programs to assist employees who may have been dysfunctional as a result of mental illness. So if you are dealing with mental illness in the workplace, you have to look at it comprehensively and not just jump into therapy.
Just one sentence added to that is that consider group coaching. Think about, so you talk counseling is the one option, and I think then there's nothing. One of the big problems we have in the world today in medicine, imagine you see your doctor or your nurse or your therapist, and then you see them again in 6 months. It's crazy. What happens in that 6 months? So even with counseling, it's very expensive, it takes a long time, and so the idea of are there ways that we can actually find volumes-based, lower-cost approaches within the workplace, larger group therapy sessions, group coaching sessions, could be a group sessions online. Those are the potential solutions that are around at the moment, where people anybody can join, whether you've got one of the 25% or not. And so the idea of having different kinds of interventions that are surrounding some form of online group coaching or group coaching within the workplace is a very lucrative idea of intervention to look into to catch that in between. And I think that's all we have time for.
Okay. Was this helpful, guys? Okay. Thank you so much.
So it was very nice comments. Indeed, it's a very informative session and very informative and very interactive. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your contribution and your thought and interacting with the audience. Can you give them a round of applause, please? Thank you so much. And there is your Wits. I will hand it to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very much.
Someone is going to get a pink bag. Who can handle it? Thank you so much.
He's a real man. Joking.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
And by the way, it's breast cancer month. So.
You can have some refreshments, and that is